So guys, like I've said to you before, when it comes to coaching, when it comes to tutorials and stuff like that, I'm not a giver of the truth, I'm a guide. And essentially, you work it out for yourself. Now in this instance here, I don't actually practice what I preach. So it's a little bit like kind of do as I say, not as I do instance. Because in this situation here, when you look at the table, we've got 3 reds left and the 8 ball. Now, I think really what I'm supposed to play and what I'm supposed to coach in this instance is when pocketing this ball is put the cue ball here. Now what that means is you are 100% guaranteed to have some form of angle in pocketing this ball to get up to this ball. Now, you're thinking, well, okay, right, so where am I going to go with this? Now, when I used to play a lot of snooker as a youngster, I always felt like I would prefer to pot the black ball off the spot low underneath the black than actually high on the black. I don't know why, but it was just something when I sighted it, I'd just prefer to play it that way. When I'm playing a ball on the rail, potting a ball down a rail, I'd rather pot on this rail than what I would this rail. I just feel like I sight it better. Now in my younger days I was a lot bigger than what I am now, so maybe it meant that my cueing arm was going around my body. Now I can obviously stay a lot closer to my body because I'm not as big as I was before. So that is an instance that I prefer. I prefer sight. I prefer playing with left hand spin instead of playing with right hand spin. When I break off at snooker, I break between the green and the brown with left hand spin, as opposed to between the yellow and the brown, which would be right hand spin. And most right handers would break between yellow and brown, with the exception of maybe John Higgins, who does break. So in this instance here, what I would play, which would be incorrect effectively, would be to try to come low of this ball, because I want to pocket this ball, sighting it like that. But the problem you got with that is I've got that much margin for error before I land straight. And if you land straight, you've very little to no shot at all to get back up to this ball. So it's probably the incorrect shot to play. Now, in my defence, I could probably argue, well, maybe I play at a higher skill level enough to warrant playing it, because maybe I can get there more times than not and not leave myself straight. Or if I do leave myself fairly straight, I've got the skill level to get myself out of trouble, maybe a little bit more than what some other players would have. But from a coaching point of view, I really feel like I should be coaching that. And if you ever do come for any coaching one-on-one, that is what I would ask you to play, and I would like you to play. But then you're going to watch me play a match and go, that wasn't what you told me. It wouldn't be. I would play that. So from a coaching point of view, I wouldn't coach that shot. It's probably the wrong shot. I would certainly be looking to advocate and coach that shot, but there would be an element of level of ability of whether I would deem that you are essentially kind of allowed to play that, for want of a better word, or really I'm saying your level of ability, you should be playing there. So there are some instances where you don't practice what you preach, or you've got to appreciate from a coaching point of view that you really need to give the correct advice for not only that person, but maybe the majority of players. Obviously, it's all tailored to individuals. But interestingly, for you guys watching at home, please comment down below and please say, what would you play here? Would you play what I call high here, where you got all the room in the world and you're guaranteed to have an angle to get back up, i.e. off the rail and back up? Or would you say, no, I'd back myself to come underneath the ball because I feel more comfortable at that? Now, you might say, well, what's the difference? So essentially, as I've said, you're never ever going to land straight playing that shot. So you're always going to be guaranteed an angle, which is why it probably is the correct procedure here. However, if I then come here after I've played the shot, I feel a little bit like, well, I'm good to get onto the ball. Of course I'm good to get on the ball. But how good am I going to be to get on the ball? So my OCD sort of kicks in a little bit here. Because essentially, that's your line to the pocket. Now, if you're coming from this direction, you're never absolutely fantastically good on the ball until you're quite close to it. Because there's your line. Now, in this instance, you might say, well, it doesn't really matter. As long as I don't fall incredibly short, I've got enough room to get onto the 8 ball by here or coming off the rail here. So in this instance, maybe it doesn't matter too much. But with my way backing myself in a, I don't know, whatever sense you want to call it, if I then pot the ball and I come here, okay, so this ball has then gone essentially. Now in pocketing this ball, ooh, nearly, try that again. So now in pocketing this ball, essentially I'm getting onto that ball that little bit snugger. So there's obviously a lot of merit in what I'm trying to achieve by going low, but are you of the skill level to land low enough to actually warrant playing that choice of shot? Whereas opposed to every single person that plays this shot to effectively land high is always going to land high. So that's one of those instances where, yeah, level of ability comes into it to some point, the correct shot comes into it some point, and kind of, from a coaching point of view, maybe not practicing what I preach from my point of view. So let's give it a go. So against the grain, against everything that you're supposed to do, you're never supposed to play low, can't help myself, done it since I've been 5 years of age, always trying to land low on the black playing snooker for the same very reason. So let's see what happens. And would you know it, landed absolutely perfect, trying to land low. Like, what a great thing to do, actually butcher the shot and land perfect. Let's try it again. So, what I did need was a little bit of right hand spin to get to the bottom cushion in this instance. Well, slight disaster, landed a little bit straight, not where we wanted to be. So we've had 2 attempts at doing it the incorrect way and basically got it wrong both times. Now let's do it the way that I'm supposed to ask you guys to play in, and let's see if we can go wrong. So pocket the ball in the centre and land high. Exactly. We could never, ever, ever, as long as we stood here forever and a day, not be good if we played to land high. So basically, take no notice of me, play high, give yourself the guaranteed angle and get on to the next ball. Let's have a look. Whoops-a-daisy. That was the interesting factor of landing high. We wasn't always guaranteed to get the speed control to land onto the next ball as well as we would have liked. So sometimes you've got to understand there's a bit of a trade-off. What is next what you're trying to achieve in the pattern going forward. Sometimes it's okay to say, right, well, I should play this shot in this manner because I'm guaranteed this. But then you've still got to play the next shot and execute it correctly for that shot, previous shot, to make sense. So it's a snowball effect. Sometimes you might play a more difficult shot earlier on in the layout, which then later on makes sense because the layout then becomes easier. So play the difficult shot if you have to, if it's going to enable you to do something easier going forward, as opposed to necessarily taking the easier option earlier on in the run out and then finding you've more difficult shots to play later. I hope that helps. It's not the easiest thing to explain, not the easiest thing to get across, but again, comment down below if there's any more that you want me to do on it, or maybe explain it a little bit different. I'll have a go for you. Thanks, guys.